If you watched the Indiana Fever last season, you saw it. Clean catches, downhill drives, shooters stepping into rhythm threes. A big reason why? Zoom action. In this video, we're breaking down how the Fever use the zoom to free up elite scorers like Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, creating space, forcing defensive confusion, and putting defenders in constant chase mode. You'll see why this action is so hard to guard and how it generates advantage before the defense can get set. Then we'll give you 5 key teaching points for the zoom, straight from Nate Steege's zoom offense, the same system he's used to win 2 state championships. If you want better spacing, better flow, and easier scoring opportunities, you'll want to see this. Before we get to the video, click the link in the description to get access to a free Zoom installation guide, complete with diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips. A big thank you to Michele Conti for compiling and editing these clips. Be sure to give him a follow on X at Michele Conti 00. Coach Steege has 5 key principles that lead to effective zoom action. You'll hear each principle and then see how the Fever execute it. Let's get into it.
Another challenge that we've faced is developing the downhill mentality in our kids. A lot of times when you have ball screens or dribble pitches or anything where they're on the move with the basketball, they tend to move in more like a circular motion or a dribble weave type action, where we want them to come off of that thing and their only thought and their first thought is to get downhill and to get 2 feet in the paint. And that takes some time because usually it doesn't come with some sort of resistance. And so being able to challenge that resistance, being able to continue to fight and not just give up and move laterally with the dribble. This will definitely have to be a point of emphasis for you as you work to install this offense. And for us, we have a segment every day where we do a big little split, we call it. And that would be an example where we would drill our guards. We would come up with a bunch of different ways that we can teach them. When they're coming off an action, they got to get downhill. They got to try to get 2 feet in the paint. And we try to recreate as many different ways for them to do that as possible. So again, it becomes less robotic and more of a mindset or a mentality. You'll see in our breakdown drills that we'll be constantly talking to our guys. You'll probably hear me say the word downhill 100 times throughout the course of this. Because that's got to be the biggest point of emphasis for guards. If you're going to run any sort of dribble pitch, dribble handoff, zoom action, and your guards aren't willing to get downhill, you're basically looking at running dribble weave off.
When Kelsey Mitchell takes the pitch, she immediately plants her outside foot and looks to attack the paint. Notice how her defender has to chase over the top, a topic you'll hear Coach Steege talk about momentarily. This positioning creates an immediate advantage, forcing the dream center to help towards the middle. Because the initial downhill probe tilted the defense to the right, a large gap opens to the left, allowing Mitchell to re-attack and finish at the rim.
One of the key components to this offense is getting guys to the corner and then getting them to hold the corner. In a lot of the actions you see, there'll be either a screener or the ball handler coming towards the man in the corner, and they consistently get antsy. They consistently leave early. It messes up the timing, it messes up the spacing. And so we've done a wide variety of things. We'll have a coach stand and hold on to the guy. We'll have them hold on to a trash can. We'll do a bunch of different things to try to get our guys to understand that if we want to run this really well, we got to hold the corner and then we got to explode out of the corner with a change of pace and change of direction. Even if we do a really good job of holding the corners in practice through some of the different things that we do with our guys, we really see game slippage, especially in this area. And so when we see that happening in games, we always will remind them during the game, but one of our biggest tools then was we go to the film. We go to the film, we'll take the players, the team, however we decide to do it that day, and we'll show them and we'll talk to them about it, and we'll even ask them, like, why did you leave earlier? What are you seeing? And over the course of time, and they see it enough, the film doesn't lie, and so that when they see themselves doing it enough, it's been a good tool for us and valuable, and it has helped us improve.
Here the Fever start in a horns formation. This is an effective zoom formation because it allows the action to be run on either side and ensures great spacing around the zoom. Kelsey Mitchell does a great job of being patient and holding the corner until the downscreen arrives. Because Kelsey Plum is denying her access to the screen, Mitchell starts to go backdoor. However, the position of the Sparks big prevents her from being able to get a layup. Thus, she changes course and weaves through the zoom action. Notice how she varies her speed, another of Coach Steege's key principles yet to come. Because of the separation she creates, the Sparks have to switch a big onto her. The Sparks big does not want to come up on the quicker Mitchell, leaving space for the open jumper. Here the Fever actually put 4 players into the zoom. Even with 4 players involved, the options remain the same. Notice how Mitchell waits patiently in the corner for the down screeners to arrive. Because the Fever know the Mercury will switch the zoom action, the player setting the down screen slips, just as Coach Steege suggested. The Mercury switches both the down screen and the pitch, creating multiple mismatches, most notably putting a big on Kelsey Mitchell. When they try to shrink the floor to provide help, it leaves Sophie Cunningham open for a 3. Had she not shot the ball, the Fever also created an advantage inside with a guard attempting to defend Aaliyah Boston. Coaches, are you ready to unlock an offense that's built to create advantages, keep moving, and score more points? Nate Steege turned a modest offense into a high-octane system that has fueled 2 state championships with the Zoom offense. His teams have improved their shooting by 10%, and their points per game have jumped 19 points. The Zoom offense isn't a rigid playbook. It's conceptual. It adapts to your team, whether you've got 1 post, 2 posts, a guard-heavy lineup, or a smaller squad. Your players learn to attack downhill to trigger actions that force the defense into tough decisions, and then you swing the ball, keep the advantage, and get high percentage shots. Imagine your team looking fluid, unpredictable, and free-flowing, yet coached with clarity. The Zoom offense gives you 4.5 hours of video instruction, whiteboard breakdowns, over 24 drill variations, and 6 offensive sets. Everything you need to get your program ahead. Learn more at the links in the description below. The Zoom Offense by Nate Steege. Advantage basketball made simple.
Another key element in our offense is forcing the chase. If you force the chase, you force the defense to make decisions, and that's what we want to do. We want to force the defense to make as many decisions as possible in our offense. So forcing the chase basically means whoever we're screening, whether it be a pin down screen, whether it be the dribble handoff coming, both players need to force the defender to go over the screen. If we force the chase and the defender still chooses to go under, they're going to be so far away from their man, it's going to open up wide open perimeter shots. So what we're trying to do, and we talk about going inside out, all of our screening angles, whether it's an off-ball screen or an on-ball screen with our bigs, is going to be inside out. So it's the path that we take that matters. So typically, especially in high school, when you tell kids to go screen away, they just run right here. Whether there's someone there or not, they screen air. Okay, they're screening their own man. So we tell our guys that they got to take an inside-out approach. We're trying to get the bottom half of the defender and make them go over. If they choose to go under, they have a long path. Same thing goes for our big. As he's dribbling downhill, his eyes should be on the defense, and so he's trying to dribble to the bottom hip of the person that he's going to pitch the ball to. So if we can get 2 instances, in this case where we're forcing the chase, we're going to be making that defense make a ton of decisions. Okay, if we just screen air twice and allow the defense to run through, now we're not really forcing them to make many decisions. So forcing the chase is one of the most important elements in any Zoom action, whether it be on a 3-man side or a 2-man side.
Notice again how Mitchell patiently holds the corner. When Mitchell goes, she changes pace, creating separation from her defender. The Zoom forces Mitchell's defender to chase. Mitchell immediately gets her shoulders at the rim and attacks downhill. Caitlin Clark's gravity on the wing prevents any help, leaving the rim wide open. Zooms are traditionally run downhill, meaning with the big dribbling towards the baseline. Here, the Fever gets creative and runs an uphill zoom, with the big dribbling towards half court to make the pitch. By forcing the over, Mitchell creates a 2-on-1 against the Mystics' big. Her scoring ability forces the big to step out, opening up the pass to the roller for a layup.
Another challenge that will arise is the player's ability to change pace, create pace, and cut with a purpose. If guys don't change their pace or play with pace, it becomes just we call it a runaround offense, where they're just all moving the same speed at the same time. It's a lot easier to defend, it messes up spacing, and it's harder to make reads. And so for us, we will do a lot of drills where our guys have to set up their cuts, make the right read, and then explode, and then get back under control, and then explode again, just reiterating how important it is to set up, change your pace, and then make whatever read or cut you're making with a purpose.
Anticipating the switch, the Fever again utilized the slip option. Notice how Mitchell starts slow before changing pace and exploding into the pitch. The switch creates an immediate advantage versus the slower defender. Mitchell exploits this with her downhill mentality. She's able to draw help, setting up the easy pass for the layup. Caitlin Clark slowly walks her defender towards the zoom down screen. She then sprints off the down screen into the pitch. This creates more than enough separation for her to get a clean look at a three.
Another thing to consider is that the zoom offense is just a small part of what makes it successful. Zoom offense is intended to create an advantage. Once you create the advantage, you need to learn how to play out of the advantage. One of the biggest mistakes that we made early on was we spent all this time on creating an advantage and we just assumed that our players would know how to play with an advantage. And we quickly found out that we had to spend just as much time teaching our guys how to play with an advantage as we did on how to create the advantage itself. One of the biggest adjustments that we've made over time is that we spend just as much time in practice on advantage drills as we do with our zoom action drills. And when we go through this video, you will see us use and implement some of those advantage drills prior to even getting to the action.
Here's a creative zoom entry that gets Caitlin Clark the ball going downhill. Because Clark is such a good shooter, Asia Wilson feels compelled to stay with her, even as Jackie Young initially tries to get back. By the time Young realizes she needs to switch, it's too late. The Fever exploit the advantage created by the zoom, and Clark hits Aaliyah Boston for a layup. Mitchell takes the zoom pitch with a half-step advantage over her defender. This is one benefit of the zoom. The action naturally creates a small advantage for the player receiving the ball. This makes your average players good and players like Mitchell world-class. The Mystics defender guarding Caitlin Clark sees the threat of the downhill drive and stays in the gap. This allows Clark to drift away, creating an open three. Here's another creative zoom action from a sideline out of bounds situation. They fake the handoff to Lexi Hall, who immediately becomes the screener for Caitlin Clark. Clark's world-class shooting keeps Brittany Griner from quickly getting back to the roller. Clark sees the advantage and hits Boston for the layup. As a middle school or high school coach, you probably don't have 5 players on the floor with great ball skills. While the zoom does cover for some of that by not requiring players to use the dribble to set up the action, you still may want to ensure your best players are the ones consistently receiving the pitch. The Fever are no different. In every clip we've seen, Caitlin Clark or Kelsey Mitchell are the players taking the zoom. But what if they aren't the player in the corner? Simple. Use the reject option Coach Steege talked about at the beginning of the video. While he mentioned it is a great counter to a defense that is trying to deny, it's also a way to remove a weaker ball handler from the zoom and replace them with a skilled playmaker. Let's take a look at how the Fever do this. Here, Mitchell is positioned to set the down screen. Damiris Dantas does a good job of holding the corner. However, she recognizes she is not the best player to take the pitch, so she cuts backdoor. This gets Mitchell back into the on-ball action. In this example, she rejects, getting her defender off balance and creating space for the shot. Caitlin Clark is positioned as the down screener in the zoom action. Lexi Hall, recognizing the desire to get Clark in the on-ball action, cuts backdoor. Clark comes back for the pitch. Notice how her defender goes under the on-ball action. This brings up another of Coach Stege's teaching points.
No switching. We got to get downhill. We got to get downhill. Good. He went. Good pitch relationship. All right, good. Stop. Let's rewind. I want to show something there. Let's get right back to the point of interchange here. All right. We pitched it. He went under. All right. So anytime a defender goes under, we want to try to rescreen. So you should have front pivoted into another ball screen here. You saw him refuse. You could have got a piece there.
Boston executes the rescreen, forcing the chase the second time around. This opens up space for Clark's shot. Caitlin Clark is denied access to the handoff. She immediately counters and goes to be the screener in a zoom in the middle of the floor. Wanting to keep Clark in the on-ball action, Kelsey Mitchell cuts back door. Clark takes the pitch and immediately gets downhill for the layup. Kelsey Mitchell again rejects the zoom, putting Caitlin Clark into the on-ball action. With Dallas anticipating Clark coming back for the pitch, the Fever change things up. The corner player sets a flare screen, sending Clark away from the ball and creating a downhill driving opportunity. This is just one example of how creative you can be with the zoom to keep defenses off balance and put your best players in position for great shots. We hope you enjoyed this Zoom offense video. If you want instant access to a free Zoom implementation guide complete with diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips, be sure to click the link in the description below. If you use the guide and concepts in this video, you'll be able to seamlessly blend Zoom action into your offensive attack, making your team an offensive force. Be sure to like and subscribe and click the bell button so you're the first to know when we release more new videos. Thanks for watching.